Governor Abbott today says the upcoming school year and the flu season could strain the state's supply of personal protective equipment, or PPE. David Gonzalez now shows us what leaders are doing to keep those shelves stocked.
Texans are growing accustomed to wearing PPE like masks, gloves, and face shields since the pandemic started. Governor Greg Abbott says state officials have spent over $1 billion restocking the state's PPE stockpiles.
We achieved one of our top priorities during the course of this pandemic, and that was to ensure adequate supply of PPE to everyone in the state of Texas that would need it.
The governor says they're more than ready to handle the demand. So far, the state has already distributed more than 59 million masks, 24,000 thermometers, 565,000 gallons of hand sanitizer, and 500,000 face shields to schools. Governor Abbott says safety remains their top priority, and every school district has the flexibility to choose what date to start the school year and if it will be in person or remotely.
The people who know best about what both the needs are in their school district, as well as the capabilities of providing a safe learning environment, the people who know best about that are the local school officials.
HISD plans to do virtual learning starting on September 8th for 6 weeks. After that, face-to-face instruction will begin, but it's subject to change based on recommendations from health officials.
Local school boards and superintendents can base their decision solely upon the information provided to them by local public health authorities.
In Houston, I'm David Gonzalez, KHOU 11 News.